Hey, so I'd like to just talk briefly about something that should be obvious, but I feel that at an emotional level and a behavioral level, we forget this all the time, which is that our value, our true value, comes from Heavenly Parent. Our true value comes from God, not our job and not our position. Not our position. Our true value comes from Heavenly Parent. So that's obvious, right? So I got a letter a couple of days ago from a member who hasn't been involved for years. I was shown this letter, and in this letter there was a proposal how to improve our church community, how to solve problems within our church culture. And the letter went on to explain this particular person's personal testimony, having been very involved as a full-time missionary and went to the matching and the blessing, and certain things happened, and she was left a little stranded, and then she had to kind of find her own way and make her own way. But as a result of the transition in her life, she wasn't a full-time missionary anymore, and she felt that she was being treated differently because of that. So basically, she was saying that there's a difference the way we would respect a full-time member or what we call a home member. Anybody who knows me knows that this kind of designation in terms of value has been bugging me for years. In America, I remember experiencing something like this, more in relationship perhaps to which blessing group you are attributed to, or even, frankly, which race. But since I came to Asia, the sort of startling phenomenon was this apparent difference of value attributed to full-time members versus home members. Now, for anybody that's not from this community, this may all sound kind of crazy, or maybe this happens in many organizations of different types. But it was something that has been driving me crazy. Any of you that know me know that this is something that really drives me crazy. Because our value comes from Heavenly Parent, not our position. So it's true that a home member might not be dedicating nearly as many hours in any particular mission, but they're building a blessed family. They're also contributing and tithing. This is how you grow the community. We cannot all stay living in a center forever. So this particular cultural mindset really has to change. And I think that the letter that I was reading from this particular member, the things in there I agree with, but probably she hasn't been in touch with some of the new changes we're making and some of the new concepts we're really trying to change culturally. Since the very beginning, I declared our motto is to treat our family members as VIPs and treat our VIPs as family members. And if you really think about it, this is a really deep thing. So all members are precious. All families are precious, especially our blessed children, extremely, extremely precious. All of us are precious because our value comes from Heavenly Parent first. The fact that we are blessed or associated with the grace and love of true parents is like amazing. those things are much more significant than what mission we're doing or what position we have or what job we have. So what is it and why is it that we have had this kind of cultural phenomenon? I think it starts also with the leaders. I want to read some from words from True Father. He said, "Why can't the church grow? It is because its leaders do not live for the sake of others. Therefore, the spirit world does not cooperate with them. The leaders know how to tell the members what to do, but they do not know that they need to run errands for the members." That means we as leaders should also do things for the members, run chores for the members, do things for one another. Therein lies the problem. The church cannot grow because the leaders are not willing to live 95% of their lives for others. So what that means is, as leaders, we take on a position where we now expect many others to do things for us, to attend us, to serve us. Certainly, in an operational context, the more people you have at your disposal on your team, the more you can accomplish in the grand scheme of things. So organizationally, we need leadership and we need staff and we need people to support that, of course. But that's not what Father's talking about here. Father's talking about the spirit world not being inspired to support the community to grow because the leaders are not living for the sake of others. Yes, we have a big mission that's for the sake of others. We have some big goal and strategy that's for the sake of others. But all the while, it's like me expecting all of the members and all the leaders beneath me to attend me and to honor me and my position. That won't work. Now, to be fair to the leaders, okay, why does this happen? Is it because of those particular leaders? No. Here's the thing. This problem is easy for members to notice and easy for members to recognize and maybe easy to complain about, quite rightly. But what if any one of these members was suddenly given a very high position? How would they be? Maybe for the first few days, they wouldn't be too different. But my guess, and this is based on my experience, is that the characteristics of many leaders who are acting like Father's saying here is not necessarily particularly because of those individual people, but simply it is part of the pattern, part of the challenge that any human being will face if they are promoted to a high position. It is very tempting to then assume your position worthy of many people attending and serving you. Again, I have to repeat that it's important to have administrative structure. It's important to have a strong and united team. It's important to unite with the leadership, of course. But what Father's saying is that we go so far as to create a culture where the leaders really are not doing anything for the members. Now, we're not talking about praying for you, preaching to you, telling you what to do. Father said this. Leaders are good at telling you what to do, right? I'm good at telling you what to do. But the question is whether or not there are times in which I find simple ways to serve you, simple ways to love you as a brother, as a sister. This is kind of what Father's getting at here. Why can't the church grow? It's because the leaders do not live for the sake of others. So it may be true that we need to attend our leaders and support them. But what are the leaders doing? They need to also model living for the sake of others. Not just model living for the sake of true parents. We need to model living for one another. And so why is it that so many leaders get caught in this trap? You may think, as a member, you may think that it's because of that particular person's characteristics. But I promise you, if we did a test of 1,000 members and we promoted all of them all of a sudden in different times, each one would probably be tempted to fall into the similar trap, which is, when we get promoted, when our position is elevated, we are tempted to think higher of ourselves, or that we're more important than others now, and therefore it's normal for others to serve me. Why? Because I attach my value to that position. Do you understand me? So because I attach my value to the position, then if the position changes, my sense of value, my sense of worth, my sense of dignity changes. So, what does this mean? It means that before I'm promoted, my value is also connected to my place in life, my position or my job. This is wrong. My value needs to be rooted in love from Heavenly Parent, right? And it can be expanded, the love of Heavenly Parent and true parents, and of course, the love of my family, my close friends. You know, your family and friends should not change their love for you based on what your job is or what your position is, right? So those intimate relationships, starting with God, those are the relationships in which we really can look at the manifestation of our own value and feel pride in that. Absolutely, as God's son, I'm proud. But if I attach my value to my position as the regional president, and then any day that position can be taken away, then what happens to my value? No, I don't want to place my value on my position. I want to place my value on my relationship with God first. Of course, there is value in my job, there is value in my position, there is value in the missions that we do, but you cannot compare it to the value that you are born with and to the value that you mature with in terms of your relationship with God. This is good news for all of us. But please don't think the comments that I read in this sister's letter about how many times she felt hurt by leadership in the past because as soon as she wasn't able to be a full-time missionary, she felt discarded. Now I know many have felt that way. And it's not good that we make our brothers and sisters feel that way. That's not good at all. And I've been talking about this. But also, it's not good to assume that those problems are just because of the individual leaders in question. Because the truth is that if the members were promoted to those positions, it would not take long before they also could fall into the same traps. As leaders, we have to be very careful about this. Constantly. I constantly reflect about this. So, we need to also focus from the position of the member. How does the member feel their own value? And also, capture this, as a member, how do I treat my leader? Yes, I should support, I should unite, but if there's something intrinsically disconnected in my own mind, in my own concept about where value comes from, then I'm doing the same thing to the leader. I am placing extra value, extra importance on my leader because I assume that that leader has more value than me because they are in a higher position. Therefore, I am enabling them to fall into that trap. I am creating the problem already as a member. We do this across the world. This isn't just in Asia. We do this all over the world. And to some degree, we overdo it even in our relationship with true parents. We should understand their value. But their really core value is as my parent. If I think that if I think of myself as a son of God, of a son of Heavenly Parent, then I feel much closer to them. It doesn't diminish God's value or true parents' value. It elevates my own sense of value and reduces the amount of value that I need to feel based on the position I have, or the car I drive, or the house I live in. I love to have a position because it enables me to impact more people. I love to have a nice car, although, I have a normal car. But I would love to have a beautiful car because human beings love beautiful things, beautiful houses, beautiful clothes. We deserve all these things, actually. We should create them and work for them, of course. But if these were really the measurements of our value, then we live in an unfair world because there are some who have so much more than others. But honestly, the difference between a billionaire and a poor person is externally, that external measurement is very small in terms of the difference of value, because both of them are God's son or God's daughter. And that is, if you can't even measure in monetary value. If I gave you $1 billion, but you could only live for 24 hours, would you accept the money? No, you wouldn't, because you don't want to die in 24 hours. That means your life is worth more than $1 billion. If I gave you $1 trillion, but you only have 24 hours to live, how about that? What if I gave you all the money in the world, but you only had 1 day to live? You wouldn't exchange your life. Even if you're 80 years old, you wouldn't do that. So you can't measure with money the value of one life. Therefore, how much difference is there really in value between the billionaire and the poor person? So I hope you can understand this simple message. Our value comes from Heavenly Parent and true parents. And even though we know we have had a problem with how we treat one another, how members and leaders treat one another, Father himself is saying so. The problem doesn't really start with the leaders in that sense. Yes, as leaders we should model the correct way. But any member, given a high position, would undoubtedly fall into the same trap, because even before we're given that position, we already have this mindset that people with the fancy car, people with the big money, people with the high position are more valuable than me. Now, in reality, they've worked really hard, so maybe they're smarter, maybe they've accomplished more. And in those things we can say, yes, they're really valuable. But when we measure just based on a position or a job, and we just measure our sense of worth comparative to the other person in this way, we fall into a trap before we even have that position. We're creating that trap as members, as people. So respect your leaders, attend and serve them, but don't treat them like they're gods any more than you. You have the same right to your inheritance. You have the same right to your kingship and your queenship. And I think particularly in certain countries in Asia, this has been a problem culturally. So you might wonder, even for me, why am I driving myself? Why am I living in my own place? Why my family's here? Why I don't do everything by myself. There's so many people helping me, and I need your help. I need you to support me. But I don't want you to think for 1 minute that my value in relationship to my position is my central value. My position is temporary, but my life is forever. My mission is temporary, but my wife is forever. My family is forever. These are the things that God has given me that have infinite value, that cannot be exchanged for any position, for any amount of money. So guys, let's get clear about this. And while this sister's letter is true, and I hope all of the members who've left and are disgruntled because of old problems like this, please come home. Please come home and help us. I will respect you. We will respect you. We will treat you like VIPs. At least that's what I want to try to do. And at the same time, the VIPs that I meet, I want to treat them as family members, not just keep them on some 5-star pedestal. And I've said this to several of them, and they like it. They agree with it because they have been watching us for too many years preach about high ideals, but concerned whether or not we're actually living those ideals within our own community. Living for the sake of others sounds great, and certainly on stage we do a good job of looking like that. But just like Father said, we must serve one another and live for the sake of others. And if we're a leader, we should probably be doing it even more. So if any of you have felt ill-served by me, I apologize. I always want to do more. Yes, I'm busy, but we're all busy. Yes, I'm an important leader and I'm reporting to True Mother, but we're all important and we're all reporting to True Mother. So send me your testimonies, what stories you would like to share of how God worked in your life. When you send me these testimonies, I like to share them with True Mother. Send me them so I can share them. And in the meantime, know this. No matter what country you live in, no matter how much money you have, no matter how old you are, no matter what skin color you, no matter what school you went to, no matter all these things, your infinite value, which is inexchangeable for any position or any degree or any amount of money, that infinite value is given to you by God and nobody can take it away. And honestly, it's the value that if you claim and if you expose, that's what will make people fall in love with you. Because that's the value that people really want to be reminded of in their own lives, right? So we need to be people who can live and breathe a sense of true pride and value as God's sons and daughters. Now, other people will be attracted to that far more than our Ferrari, however much we might like to drive one, far more than our position or how nice our clothes are. So, brothers and sisters, it doesn't start when the leaders change alone. It starts also when all of us start to understand how valuable we are, regardless. So I hope you catch my point. In the meantime, let us take True Father's words to mind. Dear leaders and members, let us work together on this project. We're going to treat one another as VIPs, and we're going to treat our VIPs as one another, our precious family members of the Heavenly Parent, Holy Community. Aju. Thank you and have a great week. I'm literally on my way to the airport because I got to go to Korea. I hope to see many of you there, and I'll be sharing more messages from Korea for you. Thank you and God bless you.